Everybody wants the good life, but not everybody gets the good life, right? Imagine for a second, if right now, today, how much more successful would you be if you just started a company 50-50 with Bill Gates as your business partner, and he was using every trick of the trade that he used to build Microsoft into one of the biggest companies in the world? Imagine how much money you'd have in your bank account today, how much more money, I should say, if Warren Buffett was teaching you how to invest in the stock market, showing you what he used to build Berkshire Hathaway into a $140 billion company. Imagine how much happier you'd be today if the Dalai Lama was your personal guide, showing you how to find fulfillment in life, in the little things that most people overlook. Imagine how healthy you'd be today if, when you woke up, you went down to your gym, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was waiting there. He was your personal trainer, right? Showing you how he built his body into the most fit body maybe ever, right? Imagine the change you would be making in the world, the injustice you'd be solving today if Mother Teresa and you were running a charity together, and she was showing you what she learned on the streets of Calcutta, helping poor, the sick, and the dying. Mentors have the power to do this in your life.
Best tips, strategies, and habits for your personal and professional success.
I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. I'm where I am today because of my mentors. Not because of my books, not because of events that I go to. Because of my personal mentors. People that I learn from, have a personal relationships, have been there and done that, and I study under them. You look at the Asian philosophy, right? Like the old martial art, instructor. It's a handful of students, closed door, and they teach you how to kill people, right? Self-defense. I'm talking thousands of years ago, right? Shaolin and stuff like that, right? And that's how you hone your craft. And business, I believe, is the same way. That I'm where I'm today because the mentors that I have, that they teach me that one-on-one, that feedback, that's what works for me. May not work for everybody, but that's what works for me. So books, yeah, read those books.
How many mentors do you have? In terms of number, you can just say a number.
I have a lot, but I would the two main ones. First one is, his name is Alan Jacks. So Alan's the one that taught me marketing and copywriting, kind of shift my thinking. I worked for him for a year or so, for next to nothing. I got as an apprentice at the time. And then I have my big mentor, Dan.
Worked for him?
I worked for him. And then I have my big mentor, everybody knows Dan Pena, who grew a company from 0 to 450 million. Dan Pena, P-E-N-A.
Okay.
So that's my main mentor. I've been his mentee for 7 years.
Would you prefer to acquire a different source of knowledge first, or would you prefer the castle experience first?
Not so much, again, not so much, don't think of in terms of, just because Dan is my mentor, doesn't mean he should be your mentor. Like, that's not the right way to think about this. That's the opportunity seeker, shiny object, type thinking. I'm not sure, just because it works for me doesn't work for you. But what I'm saying is find someone that you resonate with, that is where you want to be in your, I'll give you some criteria. If you want to find a mentor, you want to find someone that you like. Okay, someone that you respect. Someone who you kind of share the same value, that, you know what, would I be comfortable, invite him to my home, have dinner with my family. Okay, someone you have good chemistry with. Someone you can get along. Someone who's where you want to be in your dreams. That's important. So let's say you're doing $1 million a year. You don't want to find someone that's making $2 million a year, because I believe that's not enough of a stretch. If you're doing $1 million, you want to find someone who's doing 10 million, or 20 million, or 50 million. That's good. That is enough of a pull, because they have a different perspective. So that's what I would do.
So I want to share with you some things that I found, some specifics that you can do with mentors. The first rule is, I call them the mentor rules. It's the law of 33%. You should divide up your life and spend 33% of your time around people lower than you. You can mentor them, you can help them, and they'll help you back by making you feel good about yourself, right? It's good to know somebody's doing worse than you, right? That's that 30%. Then you have 33% of people that are on your level. These become your friends, your peers. But the last 33% is what most people forget about. Those are people 10, 20 years ahead of you. They'll make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that's what you want. And then remember, you don't want to make the mistake most people make with mentors, finding somebody just a little bit better than them. You don't want to be the blind leading the blind. So I call it the 10x rule. Find somebody 10 times further ahead than you. If you want to learn how to grow $1 million company, you have to find somebody who has a $10 million company. Don't be afraid to go to the top. In-person mentors are amazing, and you can get people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. You'd be surprised. My friend heard a talk, Frank, he's a director in Hollywood, and he's like, Tai, I can believe this. I heard your talk, and I emailed some people, and Elon Musk, the founder of PayPal, the only man to own 3 companies worth $1 billion, he wrote me back, and I had lunch with him. You'd be surprised. People remember, because people remember their struggle, and they'll reach out and help you too. Remember, everybody wants the good life, but not everybody's willing to follow these rules. You must follow these rules.
So qualifications of an expert. I have a theory, I call this the T theory. Let me explain to you what it means. First of all, there are experts, but there are 3 areas that determine someone to become an expert. One is theory, okay? And theory is what? Someone who is very well read, somebody who has done lots of research on a topic, somebody who has, studied a topic, someone who has investigated a topic, and so they have their own philosophies, they have their own ideas, but it's purely an expert based on theories that they have. There are a lot of those online. I consider that the lowest level of an expert. The second one is experience, okay? And let me explain to you what experience is. Experience to me is someone who has worked under somebody who ran a real estate business and they did very well. So this person didn't necessarily sell real estate, but the person selling real estate and is very successful, he was so close to her, so he learned from her through experience and watching it happen. That is the second highest level of an expert, because you can talk to them and say, hey, how was it working with Mary? Hey, how was it working with Bob? And through experience, he could tell you about the successful traits of Mary, Bob, or whoever the successful real estate person, entrepreneur is, right? That's the second highest level. The third highest level of an expert is somebody that is through application. This is the highest level of expertise. Let me explain what this is. This is someone you go and talk to and you say, hey, when you fought Buster Douglas, how was it? When you fought Mike Tyson, what did you have to look for when you were fighting Mike Tyson? When you started your business, what were some pitfalls? When you had a partner that didn't work out well, how did you create the exit strategy of the partner? When you were going through a breakup in your personal life and you were still running your business, how did you manage yourself to not go crazy and still keep your business together? That's the highest level, because they're talking about application on what they did, right? On what they did, they're sharing that with you.
Very frequently we'll ask someone, for instance, what advice would you give to a 30-year-old just getting started in your industry? What is the best advice you would give? And just as important, I think you should ask, what advice should that person ignore? Or what is the worst advice that you hear repeated often in your industry? What is the conventional wisdom that you disagree with? Those type of questions give you a not to-do list, and it is what you don't do that provides the space for what you can do. Anyone who says, you should do this the way I did it, without any caveats, should be maybe ignored in many cases, but certainly viewed with suspicion. The type of mentors who tend to be the most helpful are those who don't necessarily give you an answer, but they give you a better way of finding that answer. I'm leaving my second job, I want to start my own company, what should I do? And they say, well, I can't tell you what you should do because I don't have enough information, which is a huge credibility point in my mind that they have the awareness to say that. And they said, but if I were in your position, here's how I might think through it. Right? So look for mentors who don't necessarily give you answers, but who walk you through the process of how they might think about making the proper decision given all of your particulars. And I think that's what, in my experience, separates a mediocre or decent mentor from a great mentor.
Instead of asking yourself, how do you find a mentor? I believe your mentor actually finds you. That most people, they think of, where it doesn't matter where you're starting, that you think, well, I want to be successful, I want to make more money, I want to have whatever goals that you have. Instead of approaching your potential mentors as a, oh, you are successful, you should help me, poor little me. Don't approach it like that. Approach as how you can add value to their lives. Always give first before you ask anything in return. And that's what I did. I seeked our mentor, I helped him, I worked for him for next to nothing for a year. I just want to add value to what he does. Because understand this, your mentor doesn't need you. He or she is already successful. They're where you want to be in your dreams. So think about why would they even want to spend and invest their time and effort with you. You got to think about that. Don't come from the angle of being selfish or just because someone is successful, they're obligated to help me. That's a very poor person's mentality. Add value to what they do first. And don't even go to them with an agenda. Because think about, I can tell you, when you're successful, people come to me for two things. Either they come to me for money or they come to me for a job. You don't want to go to your mentors with either of these two things, because then they'll categorize you as, oh, this guy just wants something from me, or that he just wants money from me, or whatever the agenda. But versus with Alan, I just say, I just want to learn, and at the time I said anything I can do to help, and he gave me more and more and more responsibility, and he trusts me more and more and more over the years. And then later on, he would just say, you know what, you're doing all these admin work, why don't you help me do some of this marketing stuff? And he started showing me how do you write copy, how do you communicate, how do you use words to influence people. And that's the year that changed my life.